It's a sector that accounts for over 40% of Nigeria's GDP, but agribusiness in Nigeria can be tough work. Small farmers, who account for 90% of the sector's output, struggle to get inputs like fertilizers and improved seedlings. Even larger agribusinesses like NSE-listed Transcorp, which has invested in a juice-making company, are feeling the impact of the underdevelopment of Nigeria's agriculture sector.
To say that our farming and agricultural practices are archaic and behind the times is, stating the obvious. We have a large population of farmers who are uneducated, who continue to use the same farming practices that their fathers and their forefathers used. And pioneer companies like ours, like Interagro, have had to try to tackle out some of these on their own. And I'll give you a very simple example. We are working with a DFID-funded agency, the BFI, to begin to try to organize a formal input chain from the orange farmers, from the mango farmers to our factory in a systematic and organized manner. It's one thing to have a huge amount of fruits in Benue area, for example, but it's another thing to get those fruits to our factory in an organized manner such that we're able to run seamlessly and non-stop over time.
Hope is rising though, particularly for small-scale farmers with Nigeria's Agriculture and Rural Development Ministry's Growth Enhancement Support Scheme.
It's a very innovative program, and quite frankly, Nigeria is the first country that I know of, definitely in Africa, if not the world, that is leveraging a mobile platform to deliver support to farmers. The genesis of GES actually started about in 2008. At the time, I was a managing director at Notori, where Notori actually led the way in piloting this model in partnership with an organization called IFDC and the Taraba state government. In one season, moved 50,000 metric tons through a model similar to the GES. At the time, they were using paper vouchers, coupons. Similar to a supermarket, you get half off a bag of fertilizer, and so that was the model in which the government then looked at and said, why can't we scale this across the entire country? And thankfully, with the leadership that we have today in the ministry and at the presidency, the government has been able to actually launch such an innovative program.
We ended 40 years of corruption in the fertilizer sector within 90 days of this government of Mr. President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. It took us 90 days to do it. We totally took the government out of procurement and distribution of fertilizers. Today, all fertilizers are sold directly by the fertilizer companies to farmers as opposed to selling to the government. The same happens also for seed. All the seed companies now sell their seed directly to farmers and not to government. Within 120 days last year, we were able to reach 1.2 million farmers. How do we do it? Small farmers. We began to use the mobile phones to target our farmers, to send them electronic vouchers by phone, and they will use the electronic voucher to go and buy their seeds and fertilizers from those companies. So in 120 days that we launched that program, called Electronic E-Wallet System, we reached 1.2 million farmers. This year alone, we are going to do 5 million farmers. Nigeria is the first country in Africa to launch an electronic wallet system like that. In fact, as I speak to you, many donors are now working to take that Nigerian model to other countries. So what happened? What happened was the fertilizer companies sold $100 million worth of fertilizers directly to farmers instead of to government. That's huge.
Across the country today, you'll find centers like these where farmers looking to take advantage of the Growth Enhancement Support Scheme of the federal government have the opportunity to register for the program. It's a clear collaboration between the federal and state governments, and centers like this also are the pickup points for farmers who want to pick up necessary items like fertilizers and seedlings to galvanize the growth of their products. We spoke to a few farmers who confirmed the positive impact that the Growth Enhancement Support Scheme is having on their business.
You receive a text message based on the data that they have in their system. Okay, you're a maize farmer, maybe you're cultivating 1 or 2 acres. You will need hybrid seeds, you will need fertilizers. So Last year, what happened was that they sent a text to you with the title GES. They asked the farmer to go pick up 2 bags of fertilizer, but you pay for 1. The farmer pays for 1. And they'll get seed planting materials free. This is the first time that the peasant farmer has had that easy access to it. That is the few that got theirs last year. It was wonderful. They couldn't believe that government could really do that for them. It has never happened in the history of this country.
Another initiative that addresses the need for working capital among farmers is the Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agriculture Lending, or NIRSAL. This is an arrangement that significantly reduces the financing risk of lenders to Nigerian farmers, which incentivizes lenders to provide working capital to farmers and others across the agri-value chain.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, working together with my ministry, developed a facility to share risk of lending by banks to agriculture. That facility is called NISAL. That facility is $350 million US, and it is going to leverage $3.5 billion US from the balance sheet of our banks into agriculture. That's a financial revolution that is backing the agricultural revolution that we are having. So today, it's easier for our farmers to have access to fertilizers directly from seed and fertilizer companies. It's easier for them to get access to financing. Government is putting in place subsidized credit scheme with the Bank of Agriculture to provide finance at single-digit interest rate for our farmers.
The reality on the ground is that agriculture has had a history of challenges for investors. And despite the fact that the government is fixing many of the challenges in the value chain, you still need to provide additional incentives to get investors into the value chain. And that's really what NIRSAL does. And NIRSAL does this very effectively by creating a mechanism for guaranteeing the investments of investors into the sector. So for example, quite frankly, our work with Babangona, and this year alone, we're expecting to finance somewhere in the range of about $3 million directly to smallholder farmers. We could not do this. We could not source that necessary capital to do that unless there were innovative programs like NIRSAL available.
Companies like Dorio Partners are now providing farmers access to markets for their products. Nestle Nigeria is one such company.
They've got a nice storage facility which is in line with our Nestle standards. They've got good grain practices, and they've got good soil technology, which also again is coming from Kohler, and everything is in a nice cycle. So it just seemed like a wonderful opportunity for us to be part of that pioneering work, and then see if we could bring them on board as one of our key suppliers. Not key because they're not that big yet, but again, that was also done in a very proper way, that we have very high standards for our suppliers to meet, and we send up our team to audit them, and they have to have a supplier audit, and they pass this. So we're very happy to go the whole cycle, and then that creates this link, which is what we're always talking about in stakeholder engagement. So it's very, very important that you see the connections. It's important to have government policy, and it's also critical that the conclusion of any productive policy and input from the private sector and the public sector meet, converge, make something good, create employment, create productivity, as in the outputs for the grain in this case, but then you need someone to buy it. So it's very rewarding to see the cycle come to some fruition like this.
With more and more farmers getting access to professional help and improved seedlings facilitated by the NIRSAL program, the impact on their lives has been dramatic.
We are making a lot of money now. Starting from that last year, they give us that thing. It made me, myself, personally myself, he gave me a strength to get more acres of land and continue to work on it. And by getting more acres of land working, then you are making a lot of money from all those places. Before I do like 1 acre or sometimes just allow 1 acre. But since last year, I improve. I move more and continue. So the more I do, the more I sell.
How much more are you doing? How many more acres now?
Now I have 3.5 acres.
At the end of the day, many people say that young people don't want to go into agriculture, because they don't like agriculture. The reality on the ground is that young people are actually very rational, smart people, and they've seen their father, they've seen their mother, they've seen their grandfather be in agriculture, and they've seen them be in poverty. So, only a crazy person tries to do the same thing again and again and expects a different result. So what we are creating is that opportunity for a different result. And we've demonstrated this with the work that we've done in Babankona. We have an individual, Samaila Haruna, young man, 32 years old, on his 2.5 hectares that he had in the program this year, made enough money to buy a car within 1 season. Another gentleman, Ibrahim Mustafa, who got yields equivalent to 3 times the national average and almost 5 to 6 times the community average for maize. Unheard of yields, something with 4.6 tons per hectare for a smallholder farmer. Was able to make over $1,500 net from his small farm. And so these are the stories that we're seeing, that what we're in the communities in which we work, we actually are fortunate. We see almost a reverse migration. We see young people who are saying, look, hey, now I can be back home, I can be amongst my family, and I can actually make a viable living at the same time. Let me come back to the farm.
While the Agriculture Ministry's programs are making an impact on the lives of farmers, the success is not uniform across the country. Some farmers say despite being registered for the program, they were unable to collect fertilizers or seedlings. Do you think that there is still a lot of corruption in the supply of fertilizers now?
Well, last year, some of the people registered, some of them didn't get the fertilizer. But myself, I'm one of the luckiest people that got the fertilizer at that time. But many of our farmers here, some of them did not have that opportunity.
As the government attempts to fix these problems and get much needed inputs to all farmers, stakeholders want to know what's next in Nigeria's agriculture transformation program.
And so we are rolling out a program to help create over time a total of 760,000 young commercial farmers in agriculture. Many of those will be graduates. And so we're going to provide them with technical skills, we're going to provide them with entrepreneurial skills, provide them access to land, we're working with state governments, and also provide them access to mechanization services. So that is going to be, if you wish, the black belt farmers of Nigeria that will make Nigeria more powerful in agriculture way into the future. So that is one of our major projects. Second area that we are working in is turning everything we have into money. Let me take cassava for you. For cassava, Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world. Well, if we are the largest producer, which we are, then we must definitely be also the largest processor of cassava in the world. So we're determined to do that, and we're doing that.
There's still a lot to do to restore Nigeria's agriculture sector to its glory days. The Agriculture Ministry has identified cassava as the key export product and has set 2015 as a target to end rice importation in the country. For these ambitious targets to be met, a continued focus on addressing the needs of small farmers who grow these crops will be key. While some farmers are yet to feel the impact of the Growth Enhancement Support Scheme and NERSAL programs, others are experiencing a change in fortune as they now receive key inputs like fertilizers and seedlings, providing a lifeline that is creating jobs and growing small businesses.